Because the second team has to hear the first team. We cannot begin without their presence.
Abhinav, please ask the other team to in. Who are the other team?
Respected judges, they are actually also trying to join via code because I think there's some glitch in the link. So in the next 1 or 2 minutes they will join.
Okay.
Really apologize for the delay.
This evaluation sheet is to be sent by through scanning. Scanned copy of the evaluation sheet is to be sent after.
No, there is a Google
Sir, Google link.
form. It will appear on our screen and we can fill it online.
Online. Okay, fine.
Yes. This will be a new experience for me, but I hope to do it.
Because I have also not experienced this
Okay.
filling it on online. We see how the things goes on.
It's very easy process, sir. I think you can easily do it.
Excuse me, I would just like to confirm with the organizing committee if I'm audible.
You are speaker 2 of 235. So you two are of the same team. 235.
We are the respondent.
Yeah, speaker 1 and speaker 2 of IVLTM 235.
Yes, ma'am. And I would just like to clarify that the speaker 2 of the respondents is using 2 devices, one for the video and the other for the audio. So please, I would just request your coordination on the same.
No, I could not get you. Will you repeat?
Ma'am, I am using 2 devices, one for my video and the other for my audio. If that is fine with everyone.
It is fine. You are audible and visible both. So we wait for the other team to join.
The other team is here. The member is here. I wanted to request the OC to let my team player in. Another teammate in. OC is requested to let my another teammate in, please.
So I'm sorry, sir. You are speaker 2 of the 210, right?
Yeah.
So I would request that you ask your.
Who is speaker 2? Will you raise your hand? Second team, will you raise your hand? What is the number of your team?
210. 210.
I think I don't want to see your name appearing on the screen. How do you block that?
Your Lordship,
because we don't want the names. There is some anonymity. Not that I know you or anybody knows you. Nonetheless, the rule is a rule.
Rename your.
If the OC can rename it, because I'm having difficulty to rename, I don't know how to rename the name.
If I may say something, sir. Actually, on Google Meet, you cannot change your name as the Google just take your name from your email ID.
Code number
so
on the
it
screen.
would be difficult. You cannot do that, sir. I mean, the participants cannot do that.
You have right to rename.
So, okay, sir, I'll do that. If
right side, there is a icon. Right side icon, you click and you can change your name. Display. Yeah.
Like she has put her, this speaker 1 and speaker 2 of 235. You can say I'm speaker 1 of 235 or 210.
If I may, we have done it through the, like you can go to Gmail and there is personal information. There you have to change your name directly on Gmail, not on Google Meet.
Your Lordship, the council has joined through another person's laptop here. My laptop is under repair. That's why the email ID is also different here. That's why, Your Lordship, the council seeks forgiveness for this. The council doesn't have the access of another person's email here. That's why.
Are you waiting for somebody? Everybody is for him, all three. I think you are muted yourself. Getting on your mic. Please on your mic. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, all teammates are here. All teammates are here.
The second member is also here.
Can you raise? Yeah. They can raise.
Can you please unmute yourself?
Please raise your hand. Second team.
Let him open his camera so that we are sure he is here.
On your video. Yeah.
Let me just call her, your lordship.
Yeah.
Are, hello.
Yeah, raise your hands, all the members of the petitioner.
She's trying to say, but her voice is not audible here.
But is she present?
Yeah, she's present. She's joining again to make her audible. We are very sorry for the technical measures, your lordship.
Could somebody please confirm if I'm audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. You are audible as visible.
I don't see the researchers, but I see the speaker 1 and 2 of the team 210 and speaker 1 and 2 of team 235. Correct?
Indeed, your lordship.
Yes.
So you see as the problem. So we are beginning, huh? Shubha Rambha. Okay.
Indeed, your lordship.
Okay. As the story goes, or as the facts given to us is, there are 2 criminal matters and there is 1 constitutional issue. The constitutional issue overrides the criminal matters, because if they win, if the constitutional contest goes in favor of the IT companies, then the criminal matters become redundant. Now, who represents these IT companies? Team 235 or team 210?
Team 235, Your Ladyship.
Okay. So we will begin with team 235 because you have to defend the criminal action taken against you and you have to put forth your pleas in favor of your challenge to the constitutionality of the provisions of the Act and the rules.
Indeed.
So whoever keeps the time can begin the time now.
I'm sorry to interrupt, ma'am. I'm the court master of this room. Firstly, I'd like to go through some rules of the competition, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. A very good afternoon, dear judges and participants. I'd like to welcome you to the second J.D. Goenka University International Virtual Law and Technology Moot Court Competition 2021 in association with Cyber Law University. This is the final round held between teams IVLTM 210 and IVLTM 235 respectively. I'd like to go through some rules and guidelines for the oral argument. I request the participants to kindly turn on their mics and cameras for a connection stability test. Petition side, please confirm your team code.
210.
Speaker 1 from the petition side, please state your estimated time.
12 minutes.
It's 35 minutes.
I'm sorry, but the maximum time is 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
30. So we can have 12 minutes each and 2 minutes for rebuttal, 3 minutes for rebuttal.
30 minutes should be 30. 15, 13 minutes.
30.
Yeah. So the speaker 2 will take 14 minutes. No, 13 minutes. The speaker 1 will take 15 minutes and the 2 minutes reserved for rebuttals.
The speaker 1 will take the time for rebuttal?
Yeah, speaker 1 will take rebuttals.
The rebuttal is available only to the team which starts the arguments. You want to give a rebuttal also to the second team?
The
What is the rule, Mr. Mukul?
Sorry, ma'am?
You see, usually the first team opens, and then after the first team finishes their speech, the second team begins, and after the second team finishes, the first team has a right to rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am.
So is there a right to rebuttal to the second team also?
Yes, ma'am. They have a right for rebuttals.
Both parties have right to rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am.
Apart from their whatever they say originally.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But the time for rebuttal has to be included within these 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So we can reserve 5 minutes for rebuttal.
2 minutes, Lordship.
It's 3 minutes for rebuttal for a speaker.
3 minutes per speaker for rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am. And only one speaker from a team can take time for rebuttal.
So each team gets only 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm sorry, speaker 2, but you're exceeding your time limit of 30 minutes.
Okay, so 2 minutes, make it 2 minutes.
Respondent side, please confirm your team code.
It is 2:35. We both will be taking 14 minutes each. 2 minutes is for rebuttal. The speaker is, it will depend on the issue. So either of us will go for the rebuttal. You can just take in the time.
Okay. Now the non-speaking members must keep their mics mute. Any disturbances on their part will lead to reduction of marks and subsequently disqualifications. Each speaker has a 5-minute bracket in case of a connection blackout. The speaker must join within the 5 minutes, and his or her failure to do so will result in him or her not being given chance in the same round. The participants are requested to adhere to the rules of the competition, as a violation of which would result in strict disciplinary actions. Now all the formalities are completed. I request judges to give permission to the participants to proceed further with their arguments.
Okay, with this, the stage is set for the competition to begin. So the team which challenges the rules, the team which represents the IT company, may now begin. And the timekeeper be alerted.
This is speaker 1 appearing on behalf of the respondents, Vocap Limited and Sodaphone Incorporated. First of all, the council seeks permission to address the honorable bench as your lordships collectively.
Pardon? Carry on.
Much of. The respondents are responding to the petitions filed by the petitioners under Section 75, Section 69 of the Digital Technology Act with Rule 7 of IP rules, as they have claimed to invoke the original criminal jurisdiction of the Honorable Court, and the current matter is in its final hearing. Your Lordship, you would be dealing with 4 issues. I would be dealing with the first 2 issues, and my co-counsel would be dealing with the remaining issues. The first issue is pertaining to the alleged government order passed by Union of Indra, and the second issue is pertaining to the constitutional validity of the information protection rules. Before moving ahead, Your Lordship, we would like to put on record that the said case is not maintainable, as firstly, it is a criminal case, and secondly, they have claimed to have approached under the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, which is restricted to union and state. Your Lordship, further, it is pertinent to note Section 69 of the Digital Technology Act had not been invoked during the Atlantis terrorist attack, as can be seen in the moot proposition, Your Lordship. Further, Section 69 has a proper procedure pursuant to which a notification has to be issued, which remains in effect only for 6 months. It has direct powers. None of this has happened in the moot proposition, Your Lordship. More importantly, the current case is only pertaining to non-compliance of the government order and constitutional validity of the IP rules, not whether we have complied to the IP rules or not, as that is a separate case which is going on in the Supreme Court, and the holding of this case will have effect on that particular case, as constitutional validity of the IP rules will affect that case, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, it is also to be seen that these cases have not been clubbed as it is claimed by the petitioner. The same can be seen on paragraph 30 of the moot proposition. These are separate cases. Now, when we talk about the non-compliance of the government order, all of this happened before IP rules were even in place. This happened when the Atlantis games were going on. These were the requests by the Prime Minister. So by then, these IT rules were not in picture. Therefore, Rule 7 can also not be invoked. by which they have taken away our statutory exemption, which is granted to us with Section 79 of the Digital Technology Act, Your Lordship. Therefore, they cannot retrospectively take away our exemption with respect to the rules. Your Lordship, with this, I would like to move on to the first issue, which is pertaining to the government order. Your Lordship, it is to be noted that it is claimed by the petitioners that the respondents have not complied with the government orders passed during the Atlantis game. Your Lordship, it is to be noted that no such order has been presented before the court till date, which is very important given the contents of the order. For this, I would like to rely on the case of Krishna Swamy versus Union of India, which can be viewed on page 1 of the compendium, wherein it was held that reasoned orders needs to be given to the affected party when the question is of infringement of fundamental rights. Your Lordship, coming to the second aspect, it is a humble submission that mere request by the Prime Minister does not constitute a government order. If you look at paragraphs 11 and 16 of the Moot proposition, Your Lordship, it is seen that these were mere requests which were made during the Atlantis game. They had no legal backing whatsoever. They were not passed under any law in force, and thus respondents cannot be held liable for non-compliance of the same, let alone face penal consequences for it. For this, I would like to rely on the case of Anuradha Basin versus Union of India, wherein it was held as a general principle on a challenge being made to regarding curtailment of fundamental rights as a result of any order passed or action taken by the state which is not easily available. The state should take a proactive approach in ensuring that all relevant orders are placed before the court. The same can be accessed on page 1 of the compendium by the respondents, Your Lordship. Thus, it is humbly submitted that requests do not constitute a government order and respondents cannot be held criminally liable for the same. Your Lordship, assuming and not admitting, even if we do consider that these were government orders, the requests made could not have been fulfilled as the said information was not available with the respondents either, Your Lordship. This particular factual matrix, along with the criminal liability aspect, would further be elaborated upon by my co-counsel in his course of arguments. Pertaining to issue 1, the humble submission is that we have not, the submission made by the petitioner, that we have not complied with the government order does not stand ground, as first of all, they were mere requests, and secondly, the data which they were asking, we did not have the said data. Your Lordship, if the bench is satisfied with the first issue, I would like to proceed with the constitutionality aspect of information protection rules.
You please proceed to argue on the constitutionality. We will not tell you whether we are satisfied with your arguments. But if you are satisfied about what you had to say, you have said, please proceed to the next.
Indeed, Your Ladyship. Your Lordship, it is humbly submitted that these rules are constitutionally invalid and the same shall be proved by the Council in a threefold manner. Firstly, these rules are against and beyond the Parent Act, which is the Digital Technology Act of 2015. Secondly, the rules violate various fundamental rights which have been guaranteed by the Constitution of Indra. Lastly, these rules are also against the international obligations of Indra. Moving on to the first aspect, it is a well-established law that no subordinate legislation can go beyond the scope of the parent legislation. In the current case, for instance, the Digital Technology Act, Your Ladyship. For this, I would like to rely on the case of General Officer Commanding-in-Chief versus Subhash Chandra Yadav, which can be accessed on page 2 of the compendium as case 7. In this case, the decision of Allahabad High Court of striking down Rule 5C of the Cantonment Funds Servants Rule as ultra-vires to the provisions of Cantonment Act was upheld by the Supreme Court, stating that the rules must conform to the provisions of the Parent Act, Your Ladyship and Lordship. In the current case, we do agree that there is a Section 87 in Digital Technology Act, and that empowers the government to come up with certain rules and regulations. However, the same cannot go beyond the scope of the Digital Technology Act itself. That, for instance, if we see the 2021 rules, they have been prescribed under Section 87 as claimed by the petitioners, but the provisions under the said section do not empower the central government to make any amendment to Section 2, Clause W, which is the section which defines intermediaries, or create any classification of intermediaries, Your Lordship. The said rules also confer arbitrary powers on the petitioner in complete disregard to the intent and purpose of the Digital Technology Act. The Council would like to place reliance on the Latin maxim, quando aliquid prohibitor ex directo, prohibitor et per olicium, which translates to what a person cannot do directly is also what he cannot do.
Excuse me. there is no dispute with the proposition that the rules cannot amend the act. Okay. But will you point out specifically which part of the rule is beyond the act? Please read the rule and tell us which part of the rule is beyond the act and how beyond the act.
Indeed, Your Ladyship. So the three aspects which I would like to cover over here is first of all about the first originator. For this we can refer to Rule 4. Herein the rules basically ask the intermediaries to provide first originator of the like for instance when we take vocab for example, which is a messaging app. Herein they have to come up with a technology first of all to come up with the first originator of the messages, which is not mentioned in the BT Act at all. Secondly, with respect to the classification of intermediaries, Your Ladyship, they have been classified into social media intermediaries and significant social media intermediaries, pursuant to which an order was also passed wherein it defines that above 50 lakhs would be a significant social media intermediary and below it would be normal social media intermediary. This bifurcation, this power to bifurcate or discriminate, not even discriminate, just to bifurcate these intermediaries by virtue of users has not been given in DT Act anywhere. Your Lordship, they also require the first originator, which would require us to break the end-to-end encryption, which we cannot do as pursuant to our privacy policy. I would also like to relate the said thing with the incident which happened in Indra. For instance, pertaining to the government order, we were asked to give information with respect to the chats. When I talk about vocab, the chats were end-to-end encrypted, Your Lordship. Here, we could not have provided them by breaking the or decrypted them retrospectively. The same would also be elaborated by my co-counsel. Moving on to the constitutionality aspect with respect to Article 14, we humbly submit that they give excessive and unrestricted powers to the government and its agencies. In the current case, the impugned rules make it mandatory for the intermediaries to provide sensitive data to the government or its agencies in cases of national security. However, no specific guidelines are provided as to what would constitute a national security investigation, neither is the term defined anywhere. In effect, the rules give sweeping powers to the government. It also places very unreasonable restrictions as well as unwarranted and excessive responsibilities on its intermediaries. If I may draw your attention to paragraph 17 of the Moot proposition, the service providers like vocab are required to come up with innovative solutions, including deployment of new technology-based measures, including automated tools or other mechanisms to proactively identify the first information pertaining to the chief originator. This does not fall within the reasonable restrictions which are given in the Constitution, Your Lordship. With respect to Article 19, if the person is under the fear of being sued, he may not express himself freely on public issues, and this would chill the public debate. The said was also held in the case of Ram Jethmalani versus Subramaniam Swamy. The same can be, in the current case, Your Lordship, to relate that case law to the current factual matrix, the users of vocab would always be under the fear of surveillance, and thus they would not be able to express their concerns freely. With respect to right to privacy, the traceability of end-to-end user or originator when communication is end-to-end encrypted. When we talk about vocab, we follow an end-to-end encryption policy. When we do this, the chats are restricted between the first person who is sending the message and the receiver of the message. Even we do not see the messages, Your Ladyship. With respect to that, if we have to trace the end user or originator of the communication, we would have to break the end-to-end encryption. It is not possible otherwise. And any process to attempt to identify originator would severely undermine the privacy of billions of users who communicate digitally, who have absolute faith in these mediums. Your Lordship, even in the case of R.M. Malkhani versus State of Maharashtra, the Honorable Supreme Court observed that the telephonic conversation of an innocent citizen would be protected by courts against wrongful or high-handed interference by tapping the conversation, and they also withheld the right to privacy. Rule 4, Clause 2 infringes the right to privacy, which is held as a fundamental right in the case of K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India. Your Lordship, it is thus humbly submitted that the rules are in direct contradiction of right to privacy, right to freedom of speech and expression, and Article 14 of the Constitution. Lastly, the impugned rules are also against the international obligations of Indra. And the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Promotion and Projection on the right of freedom of opinion and expression, right to freedom of peaceful assembly, and right to privacy have widely criticized the said rules as Indira is also signatory to International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, to which Indira had acceded on April 10, 1979, Your Lordship. The impugned rules are also in contravention to Article 17 of the ICCPR and Article 12 of the UDHR, which restrict interference with privacy of the individuals, and therefore they are not in conformity with international law. This itself is against the constitutional mandate as Article 51A of the Constitution of Indira, which clearly puts an obligation on the state that it shall endeavor to
I have
foster.
one question to ask from you.
Indeed,
You see, you have argued that right of privacy and fundamental right are very dear to any individual. So they cannot be violated, they cannot be infringed. So whether those rights are absolute rights, whether state cannot put reasonable restrictions. So what is your response to that?
Indeed, Your Lordship. So it is not a contention that right to privacy is an absolute right. Article 21 has to be practiced with procedure established by law. Now, right to privacy can be curtailed to some extent if the procedure established by law exists. But having said that, the procedure established by law has to be reasonable, just, and fair, which is not done in the current case, and that is why the exceptions do not apply to our case. And therefore, right to privacy has to be upheld in the current case, Your Lordship, because this creates a blanket surveillance in the entire country of Indira and not just specific users. If Your Lordships are satisfied, can I proceed?
If you please proceed, we are assessing. Please proceed.
Indeed. Further, Your Lordship, the rules also suffer from vagueness when it comes to laying down the specification as to when an individual's data might be accessible to the government, which is also against the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Both of these international instruments Indira has ratified, and they have India has ratified both the international instruments. And Your Lordship, in addition to that, where we are aware that there are certain countries, the European Union countries, for instance, they do have surveillance to some extent, but we also have to see that they have proper data protection laws. They also have right to be forgotten, which is very essential, because once you are collecting so much data and you do not have right to be forgotten, it is grossly infringing the rights of the citizens, Your Lordship. In addition to that, a structure to ensure accountability and transparency within the governmental organizations carrying out surveillance needs to be clearly established by law, which has not been done in the current case. Thus, nowhere has the government followed the guidelines as laid down by the above-mentioned international treaties. Even if we admit that surveillance is necessary and important when it comes to investigation, the law needs to be exhaustive and should have no room for ambiguity. Therefore, it is our humble submission that the impugned rule passed by the government of Indira by virtue of Section 87 are constitutionally invalid. If Your Lordship permit, I would now like to invite my co-speaker to take the proceedings further. Or if the Lordships have any question, I would address this.
Please do.
It was an honor arguing before the bench, much obliged.
Greetings to Your Lordships and Ladyship. The Council hopes that he is clearly audible and visible.
Yes. Speaker 2, welcome.
Much obliged. In the current matter, the Digital Technology Act 2015 is not in consonance with the various fundamental rights, as primarily the pillars of privacy itself are shaken by means of this impunged act. The Council will be arguing the matter in a twofold approach. First, the Act ensures that the government has a leverage in matters of privacy, thus violating fundamental rights. And second, the Act has failed to safeguard the rights of the people owing to its vague structure. Now, before my submission, there is one point which the Council would like to bring to the notice of this Honourable Court, that in the current matter, we, the respondents, do not have any vested interest of our own. It is owing to the lives of the people around us who are being subjected to supervision in the name of national security is of utmost concern. Further continuing, the Constitution is the essence to the dawn of the 21st century and the guardian to all its citizens. In the present matter, the respondents are not against the petitioners for a mere act, but are looking at the greater good of the society at large to ensure that individual conversation, messages, phone calls are secured and protected. Now, in People's Union for Civil Liberties versus Union of India and another, it was held that right to privacy is part of right to life and personal liberty as enshrined under Article 21 of the Constitution. the same was reaffirmed in the K.S. Puttaswamy judgment as well. Now, in the present matter, the DT Act 2015 paved way for the Information Protection Rules 2021 that requires companies to provide sensitive data to the government or any such government agency undergoing investigations for national security. Now, further, the Act has sections such as Section 69 and Section 69B, which grossly infringe the fundamental right of an individual in the name of national or cyber security. Now, further, a lot of these data come under the umbrella of sensitive personal data, and the DT Act provides no adequate safeguard to ensure the safety of such data, thus infringing the fundamental rights of individuals. Now, as per the General Data Protection Regulation...
Mr. Counsel, can we pause you for a minute? Before you argue on the constitutionality, listen, you are an intermediary. You are mandated to exercise due diligence while you discharge your obligations. Could you kindly say what due diligence have you done so far? And under what provision of law have you voluntarily gone ahead and contravened a direction which you are mandated to follow by virtue of Section 81 of the DT Act 2015? Your comments.
Much obliged for the question, Your Lordship. We have complied with all the regulations as per the Union of Indra till date. The only regulation that is the current rule, that is the IP rule, is something that we did not follow. Firstly, there are two reasons to it. The primary reason is because it had provisions that would infringe the fundamental rights and especially the fundamental rights of privacy of millions and millions of individuals who are using any virtual device for that matter. And secondly, with respect to the privacy point, we have complied with all issues. The only thing is we are not complying with this rules is because it is infringing the privacy of the individuals, thus curtailing their fundamental rights, Your Lordship. May the Council proceed, Your Lordship?
Please proceed.
Much obliged. Much obliged. The Council was saying the definition of sensitive personal data. So data consisting of racial or ethnic origin, political opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs, a person's natural sex life or sexual orientation can be considered as sensitive personal data. And as we are all aware that in today's time, these are general things that are communicated through the mediums of messages or phone calls. And if this is intercepted by the government, there is a blanket surveillance for everyone in the country. Now, in furtherance, the DT Act, in addition, fails to comply with fundamental rights. It is in violation of Article 19(1)(a), as this article entails the expression of one's convictions and opinions freely. Now, however, in the present matter, under the ongoing circumstances, the present Act ensures that the citizens must consider their speech before expressing the same in order to be safe from the clutches of the draconian sections of the digital technology legislation. Therefore, the Union of Indra will be applying the provisions of the DT Act in a manner that would be speculated in the name of national security that isn't defined in any of these sections. Thus, it clearly spells out that the DT Act regards the supremacy of the government in matters of privacy and fundamental rights, which is deplorable to the healthy sustenance of democracy. Further, with regard to the vague structure, Your Lordships and Ladyships, the Council would request you to please refer to page 25 of the respondent's written submission. Moving further, the DT Act was crafted with the following principal objectives, one of them being to facilitate e-commerce, further, to create civil and criminal liabilities for contravention under the Act, to provide for a regulatory regime to supervise certifying authorities issuing digital signature certificates. These objects, Your Lordships and Ladyships, clearly depict the predominance of sections related to electronic governance by dealing with aspects of digital signatures and records. Now, further, this impunged Act, in addition, majorly relies on the Code of Criminal Procedure to deal with the procedural mandates of criminal activity. Now, with the submissions being in place, Your Lordships and Ladyships, Union of Indra is a developing country and has been a victim of international terrorism during the 21st International Games that it hosted for the first time. The digital technology laws should be more defined and accurate, contrary to what it is, as the risk of cyber attacks have increased not in bits and pieces, but in large leaps and bounds. In the past 2 years, in the state of Uttar Pradesh, 70,000 number of cyber crimes was tracked by the police. And lastly, the situation of cyber terrorism would not have arrived in the first place if there would have been a proper legislation rather than having a vague parent act and then creating further rules that curtail fundamental rights. Now, the Supreme Court in R. Rajagopal versus State of Tamil Nadu also held that right to privacy includes the right to life and life guarantee to the citizen by Article 21. Now, every citizen has the right to safeguard the privacy of his family, education, himself, and etc. Now, in the present matter, we are not dealing with a group of persons or a cluster of a few people. We are dealing with every mobile phone user. And it is common knowledge that almost all personal and very personal information is shared through this medium. And for this matter, and this is a matter of utmost concern that the Union of Indra does not have a specific data protection legislation or legislation with privacy of an individual. And for this matter, the court take the camouflage of Article 21 to interpret aspects of privacy and other rights guaranteed by the Constitution of Indra. Now, the Supreme Court has held in the Kartar Singh versus State of Punjab judgment that it is the basic principle of legal jurisprudence that an enactment is void for vagueness if its prohibitions are not clearly defined. Vague laws offend several important values. Now, in addition, further, Your Lordship, there's a very small point with respect to the jurisdiction of the DT Act. Now, under the DT Act, Section 1, 2, and 75, it grants an extraterritorial jurisdiction. Now, the Act goes a step further as per Section 81 and overrides all other laws in the country, making it unfeasible for companies like Vodafone and Vocap, or the respondents, to decide where to file a criminal complaint. And lastly, Your Lordship and Ladyship, everything aside, all contentions aside, the customer data essentially and by all means belongs to the customer, and the right to determine its use and disclosure, therefore, solely and solely belongs to the customer. Thus, the DT Act 2015 is not constitutionally valid as per the Constitution of Indra and should be repealed. Your Lordships and Ladyship, if there are any queries, or the Council would proceed with the last submission. In very short submission, the Council would proceed. Much obliged.
Will any of my co-judges put any question?
No, it's all right.
Okay, will you tell me one thing? Suppose we uphold the constitutional validity of the Act and the rules. Will you still have any defense against the criminal charges?
Ladyship, indeed, even if the constitutional validity is upheld, we still have a defense with regard to the criminal liability, and the Council would be dealing with the same at present. With your permission, Your Ladyship.
Right.
Much obliged. The fourth submission, are Vodafone and Vocap criminally liable under the National Penal Code of the Union of Indra? The Council humbly submits that the contention on behalf of the Union of Indra in relation to the conviction for various offences under the Act rules and the NPC do not stand ground, primarily for two reasons. The Council would be dealing in very short submission. In the incident matter, the Prime Minister requested the companies to share the last active location and all essential details of the terrorists to handle the situation better. However, one of the reasons that why the respondents could not share the details was firstly owing to the stringent privacy policies that the company complies with. Second, in no matter what the privacy of the users, we had assured them that it would be secure. Secondly, this is of prima facie importance. There is an age-old maxim that states that the law does not compel a man to do which he cannot possibly perform. Lex non cogit ad impossibilia. In the instance matter, Sodaphone is a subsidiary of Jingo Janga, which in turn is a manufacturer of phones, just like iPhones are manufactured. Thus, a phone manufacturer cannot provide any details that are considered from a service provider. And we were asked to provide the location of the terrorist. So we, being a phone manufacturer, your ladyship and lordship, were not in a position to provide them. In relation to vocab cannot provide the chat since the same are end-to-end encrypted. And breaking the end-to-end encryption is simply impossible. And that too, in a retrospective time, it is highly, highly impossible. Further, there is a gross procedural impropriety in holding the respondent criminally liable, as it is a very well settled principle of criminal jurisprudence that registration of an FIR is mandatory under Section 154 of the Criminal Procedure Code if the information discloses commission of a cognizable offence and no preliminary inquiry is permissible in such a situation. Now, this was upheld in the landmark judgment of Lalita Kumari versus Government of UP Nazir. Now, further, the same principle was recently questioned by the Bombay High Court in Paramveer Singh's case, wherein the court asked if any citizen finds an offence being committed, he is duty bound to file an FIR, having regard that an FIR is considered as the first step for setting the criminal law in motion. The council would request of an extension of just 1 minute from the lordship and your ladyship, just 1 minute.
Please carry on for a minute.
Much obliged, your ladyship. Therefore, in the instant matter, the first step of criminal jurisdiction was missing. In addition, arguendo, it was not possible to file an FIR. However, a formal notice or an intimation of the offence should have been provided by the petitioners. At least the petitioners could have approached the High Court in the national capital, that is at Shroot City. Thus, the council submits that the respondents are not criminally liable under the National Penal Code of the Union of India or any section of the DT Act, since there was no order that came through the DT Act to the respondents. The council would seek permission to proceed with the prayers, a very short prayer.
Mr. Counsel, we have a question for you. Given your arguments,
Yes,
how would you like to respond to the landmark judgment of the Delhi High Court in the case of X versus Union of India, where they have upheld the provisions of Information Technology Rules 2021 vis-a-vis the role of intermediaries? How would you like to argue that in respect to that judgment, please?
Your Lordship, much obliged for the question. The current matter is of the Delhi High Court, and currently, Your Lordship, we are the Supreme Court. Now, the essence why the rules should not be upheld by this court is, firstly, it is seeking the placing of the first originator of whoever is sending any message. Secondly, it is providing curbs on the freedom of expression by curbing the freedom of expression of various people, journalists or various bloggers. They will not be able to put in their content in a manner in which they want. And lastly, this rule is providing a blanket surveillance in the name of national security. Now, with all condolences, we understand that there was a terrorist attack and there should be surveillance. But your lordships and ladyship, every surveillance, it should have at least some amount of reasonable restriction. Out here, if the rules are upheld, the fundamental right of privacy of millions and millions of individuals will be put at stake. Now, if arguendo, considering that this government will not use the data in any wrong sense, but we do not know that how the future governments will be using the data. As tried to be forgotten, it's not present in the Union of Indra, Your Lordship. If that satisfies the query.
Please proceed.
Your Lordship and your lady. Yes. I will proceed with the prayer with your permission. Wherefore, it is humbly submitted that in light of the issues raised, arguments advanced, authorities cited, and it is most humbly and respectfully requested that this Honorable Court
to a judge and declare the present petition is liable to be dismissed, the Information Protection Rules 2021 are constitutionally invalid, the Digital Technology Act 2015 is constitutionally invalid, and the case filed by the government of India against the respondents for non-compliance of Information Protection Rules 2021 is also liable to be dismissed. And lastly, the contention on behalf of the petitioners with respect to the criminal liability be hereby removed, and pass any order, decree, or judgment with this honorable court may deem fit in light of justice, equity, and good conscience, your lordships and ladyship. With this, the respondents end their submissions. It was a pleasure arguing for the bench.
Will the second team begin?
Indeed, Your Lordship. Is the council audible?
210. Yeah, you are audible.
Thank you, Ladyship. Greetings to the bench. This is counsel number 1, appearing on behalf of petitioners in the case Union of Indra versus Vocap and Vodafone. If it may please the honorable bench, may the council address the bench collectively as your lordships.
Right.
Much obliged,
Right.
your lordships. If your lordships are well versed with the facts, may the council proceed with the argument.
Don't assume that we are well versed. You may like to tell us the facts as and when your arguments require telling us of the facts.
Indeed, your
We
lordships.
have the facts, but nonetheless, carry on.
So, your lordship, the council number 1 would be dealing with issue 1, that is the provisions of DT Act 2015 and Information Protection Rule 2021 are constitutionally valid. The council number 2 would be dealing with the issue 2, that the IP rules 2021 are not an excessive delegation of the legislative powers. And issue number 3, that the defendants, that is the Vocap and Vodafone, are criminally liable. Your lordship, coming to the issue number 1, that is the provisions of DT Act 2015 and IP rules 2021 are constitutionally valid. Your lordship, in the present case, the companies, that is the Vocap and Vodafone, are the European companies doing business in India, having larger user base in India, lordships. And these two companies have refused to comply with the government orders and the law of land on 2 significant occasions. Your lordship, on the first one being during the terrorist attack, where the lives of 17 officials was at stake, your lordship. There was a threat to national security of the Union of Indra. Furthermore, your lordship, the intermediaries have also refused to comply with the IP rules 2021, which were enacted to curb the rising menaces of cyber terrorism, your lordship, radicalization, number of cyber offenses with the easy accessibility to internet resources. Your lordship, the council on behalf of respondents themselves have made it in their submissions that there are rising cases of terrorism in the country, lordship, and therefore to curb such menaces, the IP rule 2021 formulated. Furthermore, your lordship, it is also submitted that the contention on behalf of respondents have majorly were about that there was no proper notice. However, lordship, the council would like to draw the attention of your lordship towards the annexure 1 of the moot proposition, which itself mentioned that the government, the Prime Minister itself requested the 2 intermediaries on 2 significant occasions, and furthermore issued several notices and gave warning to them to comply with the orders, else the criminal case would be initiated against them. However, your lordship, these intermediaries have continuously refused to comply with the above orders of the government of Union of Indra, lordships. Furthermore, it is also the case of the respondents that there is no proper definition of national security and the provisions are vague. Your lordship, the provisions are not vague, and furthermore, there is no proper ground that the provisions are vague, and therefore the laws enacted by the Parliament would be struck down. Your lordship, in the case of PUCL versus Union of India, where the Prevention of Terrorism Act was challenged, the provisions of the Impugned Act was challenged, the government itself gave the definition what constitutes terrorism and what constitutes threat to national security. Furthermore, your lordship, national security is also a reasonable restriction mentioned within the Article 90, Clause 2 of the Constitution of Indra. And clearly, your lordship, terrorism is definitely a threat to national security, which we see in the present case as well, your lordships. With regard to the constitutionality of the provisions of DT Act 2015 and the provisions of IP Rules 2021, Lordship, it is submitted that on a number of occasions these provisions of DT Act have been challenged. However, Lordship, the Honorable Court has upheld the provisions of DT Act in the sheer single case versus Union of India, Lordship. The Section 69 was upheld. Section 69 was upheld by the Honorable Court, citing that there are a number of procedural safeguards provided within the Act itself, and furthermore, Lordship, the validity of DT Act along with the 2011 intermediary rules were upheld. Furthermore, 2009 blocking rules were upheld on the ground that there are enough procedural safeguards to curb any kind of misuse by the executive or the government. Furthermore, Lordship, there lies a heavy presumption on the constitutionality, on the laws enacted by the Parliament, because, Your Lordship, it is submitted that the government forms its policies based on number of considerations, circumstances, and experts' opinion. In the present case as well, Your Lordship, the IP rules have been formulated with a legitimate state aim to curb the rising menaces of terrorism and cyber offences. Furthermore, Your Lordship, it is also submitted that the major question over here is that it is a well-settled proposition that the rights are not absolute, the fundamental rights are not absolute, and reasonable restrictions could be imposed. However, Lordship, the question being to what extent can the reasonable restrictions be imposed so that does not result into the blatant violation of the rights of the citizens. Lordship, to determine this question, the Council would like to refer to the case of Puttaswamy judgment, wherein the Honorable Court devised a threefold test to determine whether a state action is arbitrary in nature. In the present case, Your Lordship, the Council would like to prove that the provisions are constitutional in nature by proving that how the three conditions provided in the test are fulfilled. The first one regarding the legality, that is to say that there should be proper existence of law. Your Lordship, the IP rules came out, the central government came out with IP rules under the power conferred by the Section 87 of the DT Act 2015, wherein it is mentioned that central government has power to come up with the rules and regulations to carry out the provisions under the DT Act. Furthermore, Your Lordship, it is also submitted with regard to the need, that is the legitimate state aim. Council has already repeated and submitted that there was a legitimate state aim, furthermore, to curb the menaces and threat to security and sovereignty of Union of India. And these restrictions are reasonable and are based on Article 19, Clause 2 of the Constitution of India itself. With regard to the proportionality, Your Lordship, with regard to need, the Council would also further like to submit that on multiple occasions, the Honorable Court has expressed, in the recent case of Facebook versus Union of India, the government has expressed the concern, and this Honorable Supreme Court has expressed the concern and stated that it is important and imperative to form a regime wherein the originator of the fake news or such pornographic material, such originators could be traced and may be made criminally liable. Furthermore, Your Lordship, in the case of X versus Twitter, it was held that in case of lack of evidences or in case of special circumstances, it is not unreasonable to restrict the rights of privacy of the citizens if the restrictions are reasonable in nature. Furthermore, with proper procedural safeguards. Your Lordship, in the present case, the need has been to curb these menaces and the spread of fake news and the cyber crimes. Furthermore, with regard to the issue of proportionality, that is a guarantee against the manifest arbitrariness by the government, Your Lordship, it is submitted that there are a number of procedural safeguards, not only in the IP rules, but also in the DT Act 2015, along with the procedural safeguards mentioned in 69 Clause B of the DT Act, and furthermore in the IP rules 2021. Your Lordship, the Council would like to refer to the proviso to Rule 4 Clause 2 of the IP rules 2021, wherein it is held that government, it is only the appropriate government agency or the court that can issue the order to intercept, monitor, or decrypt information. And furthermore, the order would not be issued if there are less intrusive alternatives available with the government. And furthermore, Your Lordship, such orders would only be issued for the cases for the purposes of detection of crimes related to the security and sovereignty of the state. And furthermore, number of reasonable restrictions under Article 19, Clause 2 of the Constitution of India.
Madam Counsel, we have a question for you. That's all fine, what you're arguing. But tell me, without even amending your primary legislation being the DT Act of 2015, without even coming up with a national policy on encryption under Section 84 of the DT Act 2015, you have suddenly now put this very onerous responsibility on service providers to break the encryption. On what basis have you come up with this kind of a proposition? And number two, at what point of time can you go ahead and unnecessarily stretch this argument of national security? National security in today's world, when everything is porous and you're getting attacked left, right, and center, has to be seen in a different context. The mindset of 20th century has to go away. What are your thoughts on this, please?
Indeed, Your Lordship. To address your first question, that Lordship, could you repeat the first question?
There are two questions, in fact, blended into one. So you please take care.
Indeed, Your Lordship. The council requests to repeat the first question.
Well, ma'am, we are saying that you have not even come up with a national policy on encryption. And despite even amending the act, you have come in under the IT rules for the entire issue of encryption. And this is an unnecessary burden on service providers. Got to take.
Much obliged for the explanation, Your Lordship. To address your first question, the council would like to submit that, Your Lordship, it is not possible for the Parliament to come up with all sort of rules and regulations dealing with all the possible scenarios in the Act, and therefore, Lordship, it is the power given to the Parliament to come up with the subordinate legislation if the power delegated is lawful and is not excessive. And in the present, it is the case of petitioners, Lordship, that it is not excessive delegation. And furthermore, Lordship, in the number of judgments, it has been upheld, like in the case of Narendra Maheshwari, it was also held that if there are laws that fill the void or lacuna in the legislation, that they are binding in nature and are upheld. Furthermore, Your Lordship, the rules have been framed well within the power conferred by the DT Act 2015 and does not go beyond. And therefore, Your Lordship, the following subordinate legislation is lawful and is well within the powers conferred under the DT Act. Furthermore, Your Lordship, to address the second question that regarding the national security, Your Lordship, it is the case of the petitioners that indeed in the era where the right of privacy is a fundamental right, definitely there exists burden on the government to ensure the rights of citizens. However, Your Lordship, what the government is expected is to maintain a balance, because, Your Lordship, even the courts have also expressed have also stressed number of times on the point that it is the duty of the state to maintain this national security, to ensure the public order, and this could only be ensured, Your Lordship, under the properly framed legislation. Your Lordship, in the present case, the intermediaries have large user base. In the era of internet today, the intermediaries do not play a role they used to play years back during the initiation of internet, Your Lordship. Now the intermediaries play an active role, and therefore, Lordship, it is very important to make these intermediaries accountable to the users, and therefore, Lordship, these IP rules were formulated to make them accountable to and so that the policy does not violate the rights. Furthermore, Lordship, this is a case where the national security was a threat, where the right to life was a threat. 17 officials were abducted, and still the intermediaries refused to comply with the orders of government, citing the reasons that they have stringent privacy policy, they are complying to GDPR. However, Lordship, the Council would like to submit even the international obligations, even the GDPR also provide that in the case of national security, the government can formulate regulations until it does not breach the rights of people. Article 20 of the GDPR itself gives the right to the government to come up with the rules and regulations in case of national security. Furthermore, Lordship, the respondents have also cited the international obligation ICCPR. Your Lordship, the Council would like to submit that Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which the respondents have cited. Under clause 3, it is also mentioned that the exercise of rights provided by this article carries well within its special duties and responsibilities of the government. And it is the duty of the government to protect the security and the national, the sovereignty of the country. And therefore, Lordship, the government came up with the above rules and regulations. And furthermore, Lordship, there are a number of procedural safeguards that has already been submitted by the Council, and what the government is asking is not the complete decryption, Your Lordship. Under Rule 4, Clause 2, the government is asking for the tracing the originator of the information and not accessing the content. There has been press release by the Government Ministry of Information and Technology has also clarified that what the government is asking is to trace the originator of the information, and furthermore, this would only be done under the proper grievance redressal mechanism, Your Lordship, there is a review committee under Rule 12. Under Rule 17, it is stated that the review committee would meet twice in a month to ensure there is no violation of the rights of citizens. Furthermore, Your Lordship, the users are also provided the rights to dispute the action if any action taken against them, and further also approach the Honorable Court for the judicial review. And therefore, Lordship, it is submitted that the provisions are well within the Constitution of India and do not violate the international obligations, because they themselves provide for imposing reasonable restrictions on citizens. And furthermore, government has number of procedural safeguards to ensure that there is no such violation. And furthermore, the government government has given a leeway to these companies to come up with their own technologies to ensure that the orders are complied with, and there is no burden to go for complete decryption, but they can have their own technologies so that the metadata could be stored, these information could be stored only in the cases of threat to national security, Your Lordship. There are a number of procedural safeguards that mention that only in certain cases would the government issue such order, and the power of judicial review of the courts is again one such measure which definitely will always be there, Your Lordship, to ensure that there is no such violation of the rights of citizens. Therefore, it is submitted, Your Lordship, that the provisions are constitutional in nature, and any case of non-compliance with the orders of government, especially when there is threat to security and of the Union of Indra, these should incur criminal liability upon the defendants, and IP rules should also be complied with. The council would like to raise the case. If there are any questions, the council would like to address the same.
Well, on facts, I will like to put one question. There was a request from the Prime Minister, that is one thing. There were orders, that is another thing. And there are rules, another thing. So what is the impact of not complying with the request, not complying with direction, and not complying with rules? Because all the three things seem to have been there in allegations. Non-compliance of rules and non-compliance of orders.
To answer your question, the council would like to submit that the petitioners have filed two separate cases. The first one being for non-compliance with the order under Section 69 of the DT Act when there was terrorist attack, and the second case is for non-compliance with the IP Rules 2021. And therefore, there are two cases, Your Lordships and Leadership. And furthermore, the orders have been issued by the government until these intermediaries have refused to comply.
Okay, done. Can we proceed to hear Speaker 2?
Indeed, Your Lordship. May the council approach the bench?
Yeah, please.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. The council would be dealing with the rest of the two issues. That first issue is that the intermediary guidelines are not in excess of the delegation, and second issue that there exists criminal liability on behalf of respondent intermediaries for not following orders given to them under Section 69 of the IT Act, Your Lordship. Before beginning with the arguments, the council would just like to have a quick fact recap, Your Lordship. Respondent is a social media intermediary and not an OTT, so they can only seek remedy under the laws which are affecting them. Second is that, Your Lordship, in the present case, there was a terrorist attack during Atlantis Cave in which government has ordered location of terrorists under Section 69 of the IT Act in light of preserving national security. Even though it has been contended that it was a request, but we have sent the legal notice, and after sending a legal notice, it is clearly implied that Section 69 was in question, because this is the only section where the laws will deal with it, and ignorance of law is not an answer to the same, Your Lordship. The third fact the council like to establish is the respondent intermediaries denied the same, therefore government initiated criminal liabilities against the same. After the said act, the government has also introduced intermediary guidelines 2021 to have a better control on such situations. The last fact to establish is, Your Lordship, that the respondent denied to adhere provisions like tracking first originator. Government has sent notice to respondent, then after not able to get any relief, the government has approached this honorable court, Your Lordship. So the respondent to not adhere to the guidelines, the respondent has said that there are two rules under the IP rules which are excessive delegation. They have said that the first originator rule, that is Rule 4.2 of the IP rules, are excessive delegation, and they have said that the division of intermediaries are excessive delegation. The council would be answering both of these in the course of arguments, Your Lordship. The council request the bench to refer to the footnote number 44 of the petitioner's memorandum, that is General Officer Commanding in Chief versus Dr. Subhash Chandra. This has laid down two criterion to check the particular legislation is under the proper delegation or not. The criteria are that it conforms to the statute under which it is framed, and the second criteria is that it comes under the scope and purview of the rule-making power of the authority. As claimed by the intermediaries, the provision which mandates them to keep track of first originator is an excessive. With permission of the Honorable Bench, the Council want to read out Section 87, subsection 2, which says that the central government may by notification in official gazette make rules to carry out the provisions of the Act. Subsection 2 says that in particular and without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing power, such rules may provide all or any of the following matters. First is the guidelines to be observed by the intermediaries under subsection 4, and the modes or methods of encryption can be ordered by the government, can be prescribed by the government. And the following request for first originator, the following section clearly says that the government can prescribe any mode of encryption. Therefore, prescribing mode of encryption in which intermediaries are compelled to keep track of first originator are well within the scope and purview of the Act, and also conforms to the statute under which they are framed. Therefore, this is clearly answers the first contention that the first originator, the track of first originator is well within the scope and purview of the following Act, Your Lordship. Now, the Council wants to answer that the division of intermediaries are also well within the purview and scope of the Act. The Council wants to refer to the Section 2 W of IT Act, DT Act 2015. The Section 2W defines intermediary, Your Lordship. The intermediaries definition says, may the Council read out?
Yes.
So the intermediary definition says that with respect to any particular electronic goods means any person who on behalf of another person receives, stores or transmits that record or provides any services with respect to record includes telecom service provider, network service provider, internet service provider, and web hosting service provider, search engine, online payment site, online auction site, and others. So what government has done in the following Act is take 2-3 example and framed into one particular category. To have a better control, the government has clubbed the example into framing a category. That's well within the purview of the Act, which is that is network service provider. They have defined them as a social media intermediaries under the same IT rules, Your Lordship. Now the Council request to refer to the judgment, that is Jyoti Sagar versus Administration of Union Territory. In this judgment, it has been clearly stated that in the context of modern conditions and the variety and complexity of the situation which present themselves for solution, it is not possible for the legislator to anticipate in detail every possibility and make provision for them. Therefore, Your Lordship, the legislature is forced to leave the authorities created by it an ample discretion under the guidance afforded by the Act. And in the present case, the Council who are trying to enforce Rule 4.1, which is to track the first originator, comes under this complexity of the situation which has presented during the Atlantis scheme, which can't be anticipated during 2015 when the following Act was framed, Your Lordship, and therefore the government has came up with such guidelines so as to have a better control on the situations in the future, Your Lordship, in regard to national security. Now the Council will provide
one question here.
Yes.
Is there any issue of retrospectivity in this?
Indeed, no, Your Lordship. There is no issue of retrospectivity in this.
The other side is arguing that you are trying to apply the rules retrospectively. So please answer that aspect.
Your Lordship, the Council has only before these guidelines, the Council has only requested to provide the details of location under Section 69 of the Act. Before the guidelines, the government has not requested them to comply under the guidelines. And after such guidelines has came up, the government has provided 3 months period for them to comply under the same. And the government has also provided 1 year time to develop a technology regarding to provide encryption and to provide the first originator. The government has provided them sufficient amount of time, Your Lordship, to comply under the same, and there is no question of retrospectively that exists here, Your Lordship. May the council proceed to the third issue?
Do.
Much obliged, your lordship. That there exists criminal liability on behalf of respondent intermediaries for not following orders given to them under Section 69 of the IT Act, your lordship. During the Atlantis game, the government has issued order under Section 69 of the Act to seek locations of terrorists and the intermediaries, to which their CEO, Mr. Gada, replied that they cannot provide the same as they have to comply under UGDPR. Now the councils of the of the intermediary side are saying that for the two reasons they are providing is to not complying under the following act is that first they don't have the technology to decrypt their own messages and to track the first originator, and second is that they're saying that they cannot violate the privacy. There has to be one of these two arguments, and their fallacy and their own arguments represent that they are not that they are trying to escape the liability here, your lordship. Now the council requests the permission of bench to read out Article 23 of the UGDPR, which they are claiming that this doesn't GDPR does not allow them to present the following information. The GDPR under Article 23 clearly says that a union or member state law to which the data controller or processor is subject may restrict by way of legislative measure. They can be restricted by way of legislative measure the scope of the obligations and right provided under UGDPR so far as the provisions correspond to the rights and obligations for the Articles 12 to 22, when such a restriction respects the essence of fundamental rights and freedoms and is necessary and proportionate measure in democratic society to safeguard first national security and second defense. So their own GDPR allows them to share the following information in respect of the national security and defense, which they have so allegedly denied during the Atlantis attacks, your lordship. This now can be clear. So, in arguendo, even if Section 69 under IT Act is a law of the land, and even if GDPR will not allow, they have to comply under the same if the Sodaphone wants to have a user base in India, your lordship, and they have to comply under the same. The Honorable Supreme Court in Shreya Singhal case, paragraph 119, also upheld the constitutional validity of the Section 69 of the Act and stated that 69A is clearly is not vague and is clearly constitutional, and therefore the constitutional validity of 69 has been upheld time and again, and therefore not complying under the Section 69 clearly attracts the criminal liability under Section 69(4), which says that there is a minimum 7 years of imprisonment, your lordship. Now the councils wants to answer the concerns as raised down by raised by the intermediary companies, so the IT companies, with the given time left. So the IT companies has cited the Ram Jethmalani case, your lordship, in that and Anuradha Bhasin case. That case concerns with the question of fundamental rights. And in the question of fundamental rights, that case stated that the government has to make the government order public, your lordship, but the government has requested such order under Section 69 of the Act using national security. And if that order has been made public during that particular time, your lordship, then the following purpose it seeks to do, like to have the location of terrorists and to track them down, that personal purpose would not have been achieved, because if they have made it public, the terrorists would have known at that point of time. So that purpose would not be achieved. And the Anuradha Bhasin case clearly says that the particular order to be made public in general circumstances, and whereas national security is exception in all these circumstances, your lordship. Therefore, the order cannot be made public. Same applies to the judgment of Ram Jethmalani, which also says which also observes as per the Anuradha Bhasin judgment, your lordship. Now, Shreya Singhal judgment also stated, your lordship, that vagueness is not a ground to declare a statute unconstitutional if the statute is otherwise legislatively competent and non-arbitrary. Now the council seeks to cite the judgment of Jyoti Sagar, in which it has been clearly established that in the time of the complexity of the situations, the legislation can come up with such guidelines and make the IT companies and all to comply under the same. and therefore it is legislatively competent and non-arbitrary, Your Lordship. Therefore, the vagueness as cited by them cannot be the ground under the same. And now the council would like to, if the judges does not have any questions, the council would like to proceed to the prayer.
Are you done? Have you finished?
Yeah, the council has completed the arguments. The council has left, all is left with the prayer, Your Lordship.
So you please make your prayer.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. In the light of the facts of the case, issues raised, arguments advanced, and the authorities cited, the counsel for the petitioners humbly prays before this honorable court to kindly adjudge and declare that the section 69 of the DT Act 2015 and rule 4 sub rule 2 of the IP rules does not violate the constitution of Indira and are not in contravention of the various international obligations. The IP rules 2021 are not a result of excessive delegations under the DT Act, and vocab and Sodaphone are criminally liable, and to further pass any other order that honorable court may deem fit. And for this kindness, the council on behalf of petitioner has duty bound to shall pray forever. It was an honor to argue before this bench.
May the council proceed with the rebuttal?
Yes, please.
Your Lordship, first of all, we would like to clarify, there are no three things. There's only two things. First of all, the IP rules, and secondly, there are requests. There is no order. If we look at the moot proposition from page 1 to 10, there is no mention of section 69 anywhere. Let us look at section 69. Section 69 tells us that, first of all, it has a proper procedure which has to be followed. A notification would further be issued by the central government or the state government, as the case may be. Clause 2 also says that the reasons have to be recorded in writing. None of these were done. They were mere requests. If I may draw your attention to paragraph 11, which is given on page 24 of the moot proposition, and paragraph 16 on page 25 respectively. It clearly even uses the word request. Nowhere has it mentioned that these are orders under section 69 alone. With respect to proportionality, Your Lordship, blanket surveillance cannot be said to be proportional in any case. When we say that end-to-end encryption is asked, so the learned petitioner have also said that they are not asking us to break the end-to-end encryption. But at the same time, they also want to know the first originator, which is not possible. You may say, like the government may say that they want the data only at a specified time. They might not want it throughout. But for us to give them this data, we need to conduct a blanket surveillance. For instance, what happened in the given case during the Atlantis attack, they asked us to give us data for which we had to decrypt data retrospectively, which is not possible. When the learned petitioner says that we do not have technology to decrypt, that is entirely wrong. We are nowhere saying that we cannot decrypt data. We definitely can decrypt data as we are encrypting data, but we can only do that prospectively. So today, when they tell us that they need certain data, we can only end the decryption today, and we cannot give them the data which was made prior to the same. Therefore, when they say that they require data only for certain time, the same cannot be done without breaking the end-to-end encryption 24/7, because they might require data at a given point. And for us to have that data, we need to have 24/7 surveillance of the users of a company. Your Lordship, further, as already mentioned, both of the cases were not possible. Just 30 seconds more, Your Lordship.
Yes.
Both the instances, first of all, the requests which were made to Sodaphone, as already established, it is not a telecom service provider. We cannot give a location access because we are a phone manufacturer company. Therefore, first of all, that was not possible. Even if we do consider that these requests were government orders, it was not possible for us to give the same. And when we come to vocab, when we say that they required chats of the terrorists, Your Lordship, the chats of the terrorists were something which happened before they were arrested. Obviously, once they are arrested, they are not chatting on WhatsApp for us to decrypt it at that point and then give them the data. We could have done that, but what they required from us is something which was done prior to their arrest, which was not possible for us because we cannot break the encryption retrospectively. We can most definitely decrypt it, but not retrospectively. Coming to the case of Shreya Singhal, Your Ladyship, we are aware that Section 69 was held constitutional. At the same time, Section 66 was also held unconstitutional. Right now, when we are before the bench, we are arguing the case, arguing with respect to the act in a fresh manner. Therefore, we cannot take that holding into consideration currently. With request to the excessive delegation, it has definitely happened in the current case because DT Act, Digital Technology Act, nowhere gives provisions which have been done so by virtue of information protection rules, which has been a contention. Therefore, Your Lordship, even when we talk about Ram Jethmalani, just one last point, the learned petitioner said that they couldn't have published the order because the terrorists would come to know. Your Lordship, may I draw your attention to paragraph 13 on page 24. Paragraph 13 on page 24 says, Prime Minister Drogo in his official press conference condemned the non-cooperation. They can see the published order, but this is happening in a press conference. You are already doing all this on a platform which is made public. So this is a very wrong contention to say that press conference is not available to them, but the published order would have been available to them. So they cannot say both the things simultaneously. With that being said, Your Lordship, we would like to end our rebuttal at this. Much obliged.
Okay, will the other side make any rebuttal?
Yeah, indeed, Your Lordship. The other side is prepared with the rebuttals. May the council proceed?
Yes.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. So they have said that they cannot break the encryption retrospectively. But Your Lordship, the section 69 existed since 2015, and under that section, we can at any point of time from 2015 to now can ask any point of a chat or any point of location from under that particular section 69 of the Act. And Rule 4, Sub Rule 2 of the first originator has clearly said that no social media intermediary shall be required to disclose the contents of electronic message. Then message content is not requested, Your Lordship. Therefore, there is no question of violation of privacy here. Your Lordship, we are just asking for the particular date, and they are saying that they did not collect the location or at that point of time. So whenever the council or any of the person log into the particular such vocab platform, they have to consent the location for providing location. They have to consent for the same. So they do collect the location at that point of time, Your Lordship, and that the holding has to be that they have time and again stated that the Prime Minister has only requested at that point of time. They have not the Prime Minister of the country as requesting such particular details at that point of time, and they are ordering notice. So they have to, it is implied that the following request and the following notice has issued under section 69. It is not in void of any law, Your Lordship. Therefore, that particular the particular argument stands failed, Your Lordship. Here, the government and the government never contended the section 66, Your Lordship. Only section question under the question here is section 69, Your Lordship, and which is upheld by the Shreya Singhal case. And then they have stated that Shreya Singhal case is not valid because it is a fresh case here, Your Lordship. Shreya Singhal judgment is of 2017, Your Lordship, and a DT Act came in 2015. So after DT Act, if such judgment comes, that it is clearly has a highly persuasive value under Your Lordship, and hence the council submits before this honorable bench.
Finished? Have you finished?
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Okay. So can we, Dr. Ahmed, can we conclude the contest?
Yes, please, we can conclude. Now we can request others to leave the meeting so judges can discuss about the final decision. We request all to join the validatory function by the link shared on the mail on the Zoom link.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, judges. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, we can discuss the outcome.
Yes, yes, I want attention of Professor from Ranchi. So how do we proceed? Dr. Ahmed, how do we proceed? Should we fill the form or should we discuss something?
I would like that form, that the Google form should be shared on the screen so that we may know as to how to fill it up. And maybe that whether we are required to fill up the form individually or collectively. Because in case if it is we can fill it up collectively, then we will discuss and fill it up one form. So, but then, so let us know whether it is to be filled up individually or collectively. One, two, kindly demonstrate as to how it is to be filled up on Google. It's a Google form we have never come across.
Okay, let me ask.
May I ask something? Sorry.
Yeah, what is the international practice about this? About judging? Yes.
Just a few remarks. So it was really impressive, the discussion among the different actors, let's say, in this trial. And of course, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not expert in the specific field. I'm more a technologist. So I know the GDPR, our regulations in Europe, and some extensions, as Pavan told me several times when we have the meetings and the conferences in Delhi. So I'm not able to express an evaluation about the different specific references to the comments, the different norms and articles. So please, I would like to ask to the distinguished lawyers here to provide us, I think for Sarah is almost the same, provide us let's say, the impression, so the evaluation about the specific part of the session, and in order to have a better view on the relevance of the jurisprudence that was discussed by the different
participants. Okay. How do you react to Dr. Pazluk?
Yes, yes, it was quite interesting presentations by both teams, and the challenge for me now for deciding, as initially it's in mind to what site I should select, petitioner or respondent. So from my previous background, I was like a human rights activist, and I fully agree with arguments of the party presenting response. But again, if there are unequal situation, we need to evaluate the skills as lawyers to present material rather than to evaluate the merits of the case and who is right in this case, if I'm correct. So from my perspective, of course, it's a case when it's excessive power of government without proper limitations, but we need to evaluate not constitutionality, not to decide this case. We need to evaluate our teams and presentation.
Exactly.
This is the real point, core point. We have to evaluate the performance of the participants and not to virtually decide this matter.
Riyaz, can you share the screen and then explain,
Dr. Fox, will you like to say something? We have to hear her also.
Yeah.
Yes, from my perspective, I think that it's about the compelling arguments made by both teams, so 235 and 210. So it was looking at their interpretation of the legislation and obviously respective areas that they brought in. I do have an opinion, but I'm not going to express it, which one I felt was the most compelling in the circumstances with regards to interpretation of the legislation, the case law, and actually looking at the dates when the legislation came into play, what they were actually picking up and articulating, so the strength of their argument. So I do have an opinion on that, but it's just a case of how we actually do it, whether it's individually or whether it's collectively. But I would conclude I do have I think they all presented a very strong argument. There was one person to me that stood out in terms of, presenting it probably better than the rest. So that obviously leans towards one team.
I think for the fast closer, what we can do, out of 8, what we can do, we can ask the opinion of who was the winner, 235 or 210, and the majority opinion we can decide. That is the easiest way we can decide.
I think that is the best way.
Yeah.
I agree with this.
Yeah.
Okay, if this is what is agreed, is it agreed that we decide who is the winner?
So by show of hands?
By show of hands, yeah.
We can tell the 235, how many are supporting 235 is the winner? 235.
I'm supporting 235.
So 235. So 6 are 235. So 235 is the winner.
No, everybody is, where is Tugal? So we are all here, everybody is supporting 235 to be the winner.
Dugal, I think you were muted yourself.
And even in 235, the speaker number 1 was the best.
Yeah, speaker number 1 was the best. Because she understood the question.
Exactly.
She understood, responded very well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that one day she will make a very good lawyer.
Yeah. So 235 is the winner and the 210 is the runner-up. But the best speaker, female, male, we are deciding from the performance of the initial rounds because we have the 40 teams.
Yeah.
So that we have to take the marks from the first round, the elementary round. And from that, I think the team will decide that who is the best female, male speakers.
Sure. So may I explain the scoring rounds? Yeah, sure, sir. So reading the judges, I'm just sharing my screen. Is just looking at the form which is being displayed. I believe a Google form link must have been shared with you by our team.
Now you fill up the Google form. We have all decided unanimously.
Shreyas, no, it is not required. We have decided the result.
Okay, so then there are other things to be decided apart from the best speaker. We have to decide who is the second best speaker. The team wins, but the other team is runners up. But we have to decide the second best speaker also.
No, ma'am.
We have the opportunity only to judge.
No, let me explain the rule. The best speaker,
about the other rounds.
Best speaker, male, female, decided from the elementary rounds out of 40 rounds.
Okay.
And the memorial already decided by the memorial performance as a written submission. It is already decided. So we have to just decide the winner, runner-up team right now. So I think we are saying 235.
Yes.
We have decided. I think it's fine. Okay.
Yeah. But as far as other winners are concerned, because since we did not have the opportunity to others, so we keep ourselves out from that consideration.
Okay.
We will not be able to give our input on regarding that.
Okay, thank you. Now we can join you have the in an email another link from Zoom. We can join there for validity function.
So we leave this meeting and join the valedictory.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
Okay.
Mr. Shreyas, can you actually send us the link on the screen right now?
Yes, I think that will be better.
Yeah.
Where's the link?
Sure, yeah.
What is the meeting number, whatever? Because
Zoom link you can share, sir.
Sure, sir. I'll do that, sir.
But we can leave the meeting, go back to our email and open the other one.
It will be easy, ma'am. If you can directly join from the this message section directly, we can go.
Should we leave the meeting now?
Yes, we can. No, if you want to join directly from the message section, Shreyas is sharing the link, or you can log off from here and go to your email, join from there as a Zoom link. Both options will be there. So you can join directly from here on the message. Go to your message section.
Yeah.
Chat. Open your chat and then there is a link is there. Directly we can go from here.
Sure. One has already joined.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, sir.
We'll switch right now.
Yeah.
Right away.
Sure, sir. Then I'll take your leave, sir, and I'll also